Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video title on the shortness of life. There comes a moment in almost every human life when we suddenly stop and ask a terrifying question. Where did all the time go? It feels if life was only beginning yesterday. We were children with the dreams in our eyes, young with the fire in our hearts, certain that there would be enough time for everything, enough time to become who we wanted to become, enough time to love deeply, to build something meaningful, to heal, to change, to begin again. And it somehow the days slipped through our fingers. One day become one week become one year quietly become a decade, and now, in the silence of an ordinary evening, we feel the weight of a painful truth. Life is moving, it has always been moving, and it never once asked for our permission. This is the brutal wisdom at the heart of Seneca's on the shortness of life. More than 2000 years ago, Seneca looked at humanity and saw something that is still true today. He saw people running, rushing, chasing, worrying, postponing, pleasing, performing, competing, accumulating, and then complaining that life is too short. But Seneca says something shocking. He says, life is not short, we just waste much of it. Think about that. The problem is not always that we have too little time. The problem is that we lose the time we do have to things that do not deserve our life. We waste our years living for approval. We waste months worrying about what others think. We waste mornings scrolling through distractions. We waste nights replaying all the pain. We waste energy chasing status, possessions, and empty victories. We waste our peace trying to control what cannot be controlled. And worst of all, we keep telling ourselves that real life will begin later. Later, when I have more money, later, when I am less busy, later, when the children grow up, later, when the stress goes away, later, when I feel ready, later, when the timing is perfect, later, when I become someone else. But later is one of the most dangerous words in the world because later is where dreams go to die. Later is where books remain unwritten. Later is where apologies remain unspoken. Later is where courage is buried. Later is where health is neglected. Later is where relationships slowly starve. Later is where a human being spends years preparing to live without ever actually living, and this is what Seneca wanted us to understand. He wasn't simply talking about death, he was talking about a misused life. A person can live 80 years and never truly live at all. Another can live 40 years and fill them with presence, purpose, courage, and inner freedom, because a true measure of life is not length, it is aliveness. You can exist for a very long without ever being awake. You can spend decades on autopilot, waking up, rushing through routines, reacting to demands, numbing yourself with entertainment, postponing your own soul, and call it living. But Seneca would ask us a difficult question. Are you living your life or merely being carried through it? That question hurts because many of us already know the answer. We know that it feels like to be busy all day and fulfilled by none of it. We know what it feels like to reach the end of a week and wonder what we actually did with it. We know what it feels like to have 1,000 things on the calendar and still feel strangely empty. We know that it feels like to be exhausted, not because we are doing what matters, but because we are constantly pulled in directions that have nothing to do with who we truly are and what is the tragedy. And that is a tragedy. Not that life ends, everything ends. That has always been true. The tragedy is when a person reaches the end and realizes they were present for everyone else's priorities but absent from their own life. They answered every message except the one their soul kept sending them. They met every deadline but ignored their deepest calling. They spent years making money but never made time. They built a schedule but never built a life. Seneca tells us that the people guard their money carefully but hand away their time as if it were worthless. Isn't that exactly what we do? We become protective of possessions but careless with our days. We hesitate to lend money, but we lend ours to gossip, distraction, resentment, overthinking, comparison, and meaningless obligation. We say, I am too busy for our health, our peace, our growth, our family, our inner life. Yet somehow we always find time for the things that slowly drain us. And then we call life short. No, life is not always short. Often life is simply unclaimed. And that is the wake up call. The truth is, every day your life is being spent, not saved, not stored, not passed until you are ready. Spent this day you are living right now, this ordinary day, with its unfinished task, its worries, its little frustrations, its unnoticed beauty. This day is not a rehearsal, it is your life. This morning was part of your life. That conversation was part of your life. That hour you lost to anxiety was part of your life. That moment you nearly noticed the sky but kept walking was part of your life. That laugh you postponed, that rest you denied yourself, that dream you pushed to tomorrow, all of it is part of your life. And once spent, it will never return. That is why Seneca's message is not depressing, it is liberating. Because once you truly understand that time is your most precious possession, your life begins to change. You stop treating your days casually. You stop saying yes to everything. You stop confusing emotion with meaning. You stop worshipping business, busyness. You stop postponing joy until every condition is perfect. You stop waiting for a future version of yourself to start being brave. You began asking better questions. Is this worthy of my life? Is this thought worthy of my peace? Is this habit worthy of my future? Is this relationship feeding my soul or starving it? Is this ambition truly mine or something inherited from fear, comparison, or social pressure? These questions matter because a meaningful life is not built by accident, it is built by deliberate attention. Seneca believed that the person who truly lives is the one who learns how to be present, who stops being dragged by endless desire and fear, and instead becomes the guardian of their own time. Imagine that. Imagine what would happen if you become the guardian of your time. Imagine waking up and remembering that this day is not cheap. Imagine speaking only words that matter more. Imagine protecting your mind from constant noise. Imagine refusing it to give your best energy to trivial things. Imagine saying no without guilt, resting without shame, working with intention, loving with urgency, and living with awareness. Imagine understanding deep in your bones that your life is not a draft. How differently would you move? How differently would you speak to the people you love? How differently would you treat your body, your mind, your mornings, your attention, your purpose? Most people think transformation begins with the motivation, but often it begins with mortality, not in a dark way, in a clarifying way. When you remember that your time is finished, suddenly the nonsense loses power. The petty argument becomes smaller. The approval of strangers becomes less important. The need to prove yourself to everyone begins to fade. The endless delay start to look absurd. You realize that life is too sacred to be lived half asleep, and maybe that is the real message on the shortness of life. Not simply that death is coming, but that life is here now, and most people are absent for it. They are physically present, emotionally exhausted, mentally elsewhere, spiritually numb. They are always preparing, planning, fearing, regretting, comparing, performing, but rarely inhabiting the moment they are actually in, and that is what has to change. You do not need a new year to begin again. You do not need a permission. You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need to become fearless first. You only need honesty about what is wasting your life, honesty about what you keep postponing, honesty about the habit that are stealing your days, honesty about the people, distractions, and fears that are feeding on your attention. honesty about the dream you still carry but keep delaying because it scares you. Ask yourself, if I continue living exactly like this for the next 5 years, will I be proud of where it leads me? If the answer is no, then that is your sign not to panic, not to hate yourself, not to drown in regret, not to, but to begin protecting your mornings, begin saying no to what drains you, begin making time for silence, begin reading what strengthens your mind, begin doing the work that matters before the work that merely shouts, begin calling the person you love, begin taking care of the body carrying you through life, begin forgiving, begin creating, begin praying, begin writing, begin healing, begin now. Not because you have unlimited time, but because you don't. There is something deeply powerful about a person who understands the value of a day. Such a person does not need to rush because they are no longer lost. They do not need to impress everyone because they know what matters. They do not waste themselves on every invitation, every argument, every distraction. They move with calm, they choose with intention, they live as if life is precious because it is, and maybe that